Welcome to Tribune Now Spotlight. I am Dina Ventura.
I'm Jojo Silvestre. Today we have a very special guest, as usual.
Yes.
We always have special guests,
Very.
but today is even more special.
Oh, yes, I know.
She is the director for sustainability of the 10 Nuts Group's resorts in northern Palawan. El Nido, all of those. Lagan.
Lagan
That's supposed to be
Island.
called Langan there, no? But it's Lagan and one more, I think. Yeah. These resorts are the most awarded and recognized in the country for their sustainable tourism practices.
Yes.
So Andre Kikon, our guest.
Our guest. I'm so excited.
She runs an internship program that is in collaboration with Georgetown University, Ateneo de Manila, and the University of the Philippines, of course. And then, for 13 years now, she has been the president and trustor of the Asian Conservation Foundation.
Wow.
She is a sought-after speaker on sustainable tourism, both locally and internationally. And together with her husband, Angelo, she founded Potter's Place School in El Nido, the first DepEd recognized private-run and non-sectarian learning institution in the municipality. May I present to you Miss Marigs Laririt. Hi, Glo. Marigs pala.
Hi. Hello, whichever.
I've known her for a long time, ha?
Okay.
Noong mga panahon ako'y nagliliwaliw pa, I was in Palawan for a year.
Wow, how lucky. Marigs.
Do you want me to describe how Jojo used to be?
Yes, please.
Maybe not.
I would love to hear. Those days when Jojo was still
Thinner.
wearing beachwear.
And he's
Okay,
always
okay.
been happy and bouncy.
Okay, lovely. So, Marigs, your introduction was really very impressive because of your line of work. So, can you tell us how you got into this line of work? It's not very common, diba? Although it's becoming more in fashion
ngayon na lang.
nowadays.
Pero
yes.
siya, isa sa mga pioneers yan.
I know. So, I'm very interested because it's something that the world needs now. Like the song.
Yeah, well, I was a teacher at UP Manila and UP Los Baños. So I started early in my career. And somehow I came across some people who were running this resort in Palawan. I had no clue. I was a very young instructor at UP, and I was a biologist. That's, by the way, my background.
Okay.
And they were looking for someone who can help them do a baseline of the natural features of El Nido, it being a very special place. And at that time, they were looking at expanding their investments in the place. At that time, they had two resorts. They were running Miniloc Island Resort and the old Pangalasyan Island Resort. And they were looking at the possibility of a third resort. And they wanted to develop very carefully. And to do that, they believed that they needed to know what was in the place, as a matter of exercise of caution. They didn't want to overdevelop and things like that. So I thought it was very, very novel at my young life with no experience whatsoever outside the academe. I thought it was an admirable idea for this group of people to actually think about studying, doing a baseline study first before launching further projects. So of course I joined. That was in 1995. I never looked back. Yeah.
Wow, that's passion and dedication and commitment.
Let's move forward.
Okay.
Paano ka naman since the start of the pandemic? How have you been coping? Especially sa work mo. Have you been doing something as part of your work?
So parang if we were to look at the first two questions as parenthesis, parang beginning tsaka end, ganyan. Simula ng pandemic. Game.
Very fast forward,
Yeah, very fast forward Zoom, ganyan. But I will have to say that we as a company are doing relatively well during this pandemic. And when I say well, I mean in terms of, we have kept everybody safe. People may have gotten sick, but no one has actually succumbed to the virus, and that's something that we're very, very proud of. We were able to reopen our resorts in July 2020, and we
Oh,
Wow.
pioneered the concept of travel bubbles in cooperation with the DOT and the local government. So we've been pretty busy, in spite of everything. And when I say busy, again, busy within the context of what one can possibly do within the pandemic, which is obviously a lot, in terms of scale, a lot lower, smaller than how we have been conducting our business before the pandemic. Um, because we were doing very, very well in terms of arrivals up to 2019, ano? But also we have been doing well in taking care of our colleagues, even those who were furloughed, and most importantly for me, we have been able to deliver to our commitments to the environment, the natural environment. We were still able to do conservation activities in spite of the pandemic. Of course, again, at a much lower scale than before. And our commitment to our community partners. So that's what kept me busy, attending to those commitments, as well as attending to my family's needs, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
How about the school? Did
Yes,
it operate?
Yes, we operated. We just fairly recently had our moving up ceremonies because we've had to adjust to the timeline, of course. But we opened in July of last year on a hybrid mode, which was, very, very challenging for both our teachers and our students. But fortunately, we were able to deliver one school year under those circumstances. And now our school is busy, very busy again, preparing for the coming school year.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been occupied.
Oh, good. So you didn't have time to get into new hobbies like most people over the pandemic. You've been very busy pa rin.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm very much attuned to nature, and where we live on our house. I mean, we are situated at the foot of a forest. We are stewards of a forest beside us, so there are plenty of opportunities for me to pursue birding, photographing them, and on some occasions I was able to actually uh, go to the sea, to the beach, to snorkel, to just swim and so on. So it's been fairly very balanced, I would say. And I've also had time to plant a little, but I know that planting just doesn't like me. So I've had to accept that. Um, yeah, and do some cooking as well, with experimenting with new menus.
I see. I'm seeing such lovely images
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of 10 knots. Can you tell us a little bit more about the property?
Yes. Okay, so 10 Knots is this company that's been operating in El Nido since 1979, in fact, no?
Oo.
And so over the years, it has experienced changes in ownership hands, and
Mm,
today we are a fully owned subsidiary of Ayala Land.
I see.
And under our umbrella, under the 10 Knots umbrella, are a cluster of island resorts, which we collectively refer to as El Nido Resorts.
I
And these are in 4 islands in northern Palawan. There's Miniloc on your screen. Before that was Apulit in Taytay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's still Miniloc.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Lagan Island Resort, and then there's Pangulashan Island Resort. So those are
Yeah.
the 4 island
Mm,
resorts.
resorts.
Yes, and then now we have this is Lagen over here in the screen.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's Apulit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have also an emerging um, like hub in the mainland of El Nido,
Oh.
and there we have also a cluster of resorts called the Leo Estate Resorts because we're developing an estate. No? So it's
Oh.
yeah, it's a mixed use kind of development where we have resorts. We also have Seda Leo as one of our locators. And then there are various other merchants that have set up business there. And perhaps in the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be even more offerings as more locators come into the picture.
I see. Okay.
Do Bea and Paloma work on the mainland or
Yes, in the mainland. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Tell us about your department. What does it do? I think this is a long
Ex-
thing. No? Tell us
explanation.
Brace
everything
yourself.
about it.
Yes, no, so I am head of the Department of Sustainability, which covers environmental conservation, community engagement, um, fulfillment of our environmental and social and governmental requirements or our ESG requirements. And we are very much aligned with the sustainability development goals of the UN as a company. So those are the broad strokes when we talk about our department. But how do we actually lay it out on the ground? I have one environmental officer at every property, and that officer is in charge of a lot of things. No? Amongst that would be compliance to governmental regulations concerning environment. And because we operate in a managed resource protected area, there's a lot of focus from different government agencies. So we deal with uh, requirements from DNR, Palawan Council for Sustainable Development, and of course the LGU. So all that would be falling under our department, as well as we train every member of our organization. We have the Be Green campaign. Joe, I'm sure you're familiar with this. We were talking about this back in whenever 2006, maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
2007. Yeah.
But I
So
was
Be
too young
Green.
then.
Bikini days of Jojo.
I was too young.
Yes, of course. So GREEN stands for Guard, Respect, Educate, El Nido, and every person who comes and joins our organization is required to go through a 5 lesson course.
Wow.
So that
Yeah.
everyone's on
Yeah.
the same page. You take exams as well. So that's the professor in me,
Yeah.
no, coming
Yeah.
out. Um, and so after all that, there are expectations of you because you already know what you can and cannot do within the context of our operation. So an environmental officer then makes sure that everyone understands there are refresher courses and so on. So there's a training component,
Tatanong na.
and we also reach out and create opportunities between our company and our community partners. So we have a whole host of programs with our community partners. No? So it's been a mantra within Ayala Land and the whole Ayala Corporation that instead of just investing in CSR activities, we actually try to achieve shared value, which means that instead of just um, engaging in one-time activities, which are not bad, by the way. I mean, they have extremely great value that they bring. But as a matter of course and looking into the future, we would really rather make business partners out of our community, our host communities, so that we grow together and we protect each other. And it is really set up for sustainability. So it seems like it's trite, but I can guarantee you that this is something that we have been able to do, and it's something that we're very much committed to in spite of our present circumstances.
Yeah. Marigs, you talk about teaching the community, and I suppose you also have to try and develop consciousness among the staff of 10 Knots. We'd like to know how you do that the in the practical sense, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you actually tell them or teach them? But before you,
Tell us.
uh-huh.
Let's pause for a break.
Viber is the free and secure way to connect with friends and family anywhere. Send messages and make phone and video calls for free. Download Viber now.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We are with Marigs Laririt of 10
Yes.
Knots Development Resort. So before we took a break, we were asking about the way, or what do you actually teach your staff?
Just staff.
Yes, about sustainability practices and environmental
Yeah.
consciousness.
Ay, walang. Sandali, Marigs.
Okay, take two. Earlier, I mentioned the Be Green training campaign, which we require all of our staff.
Yeah.
And then it really helps that we are committed to a very high percentage of local employees. So we try to maintain that. We range between 83 to 90% of our staff sourced from El Nido and its nearby municipalities. So that when you talk to people about their homes, for example, I mean, how could they not connect to it? No? So there's already a huge leap up the learning curve, so to speak, when you talk to people about why you need to preserve certain things, and most importantly, and more connected to the business and their respective tasks. It's so much easier for us to make the connection to let's say, for example, if you are a part of F&B, why we insist on phasing out plastic straws, because even if it's something that is easy for us to implement as a company, there is always going to be a backlash from your consumers, from your customers. So everyone has to understand really and explain in their own words. So nothing canned, no spills that are going to be spouted by your robotic staff, nothing like that. So everybody understands and explains in their own words.
Okay.
And that's really the goal. Now, if you were part of procurement, for example, you will have to know why we cannot accept undersized fish, right? So for us to be able to get this message across, it's so much easier because, like I said, most of our staff are from here. So they grew up here. They know, for example, the status of this fish stock when they were little. They're full of anecdotes how those times. All they have to do is to cast a line, and a huge fish comes out of the ocean, and that's not happening anymore. So it's there's really a connection. And even if you weren't originally from El Nido, let's say you were from Manila or Cebu or wherever else that we recruit from, when you see that a lot of your colleagues are truly, concerned about the environment, then it's so much easier for you to also throw your support. And this is not to say that there has been no struggle whatsoever. I mean, in terms of sentiment, I think that everyone loves the environment. No one really comes out in the open and says, I want to trash the environment. No one does that.
Yeah.
But how does that translate to you as an employee of a company that's trying to run um, a resort sustainably, and you facing a guest who wants to collect corals, for example, when you know that that's not allowed and that's not an environment friendly way of doing things. How do you do that? Now, if it's just a matter of obligation, then it will be a challenge because it's so much easier for a staff to look away and just allow the guests to do whatever they want. But because we consciously come together, spend time, and talk about these things, no, I try to stay away from saying that we teach them. It's like there's presumption that we know more, no.
Yeah.
And even if I have lived here for
X
22
number of
years
years.
now,
Wow, 22.
22 years now, yeah, since 1999, yes. So, yeah, I've been living here for 22 years. My kids grew up here. There's still a
1995.
whole lot for me and for us to learn from each other. So, I'd like to believe that our Be Green campaign is something that, we facilitate, my team and I, we facilitate, but we also learn a lot from our colleagues who were originally from here, I mean, born here and raised here. Yeah.
How are you with the guests? Are they receptive? What do you do to encourage them to engage in sustainable practices?
Sustainability has become a culture for El Nido Resort. So I'd like to believe that even before someone comes here, they would have somehow gotten wind of the way we do things. No? So whether it's via internet or talking to our sales personnel before they come here, and the emails that they get, the images that we use, somehow you know that you are going to a place that is different. It's beautiful and it's also different from other places in that there are certain behaviors that are, I guess, approved of, encouraged. But there are also behaviors that are outrightly not allowed because we are, like I said earlier, in a highly regulated environment. Government is looking at all of us here. So what we do is we really facilitate the experience of our guests so that it becomes light and easy. And it's not like you go to a place where, you're told constantly, you can't do this, you can't do that. No?
Okay.
So we're trying to appeal to the best self of the guest, a self that is attuned to nature, a self that will not resist being told not to gather corals and sand and so on, which is in other destinations is like a given. A self that will not also throw tantrums if you were told that, I'm sorry, we do not serve lobster because lobsters here are not sustainably caught and we'd like to give you the freshest possible. Things like that. And on top of it all, okay, we're not necessarily an inexpensive destination, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's my dog trying to get into the picture
Oh, that's good.
or into the audio. Anyway,
Okay lang yan.
So that's Heineken, our beagle.
Oh, nice.
But that's how it is, no? Like I was saying, it's a culture. So you come and you see everybody happily picking up trash if something shows up on the beach or on the sea. In fact, we have had guests asking us, can we do coastal cleanup? Imagine paying the amount of money that you do, and then you come here and you say, "I want to pick up trash."
Nice.
So
Oo
I
nga
think this
naman.
is really, really a huge validation of what we're trying to do. And so, of course, much obliged, we instantly organize these things.
Yeah.
But it's. I'm sure you will see that it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work. Talagang buwis buhay, no? We always put the guest's experience and the guest safety ahead of
Foremost.
everything. So to do that, we ourselves as a company, we have to make sure that our staff are trained, everyone is fit. We invest in human development, resource development, in that we allow people to go through first aid training, water safety, the usual things that you have to undergo when you get into this line of business. So you have the very basic things, and then you have these add-ons that appeal to like the higher sense of being of the people who come. And I have frequently come across people who say or admit that they behave very differently if they go to different destinations. So, it is what it is. It's human nature. And I'm just glad that we are able to provide that milieu for people when they want to be, like I said, more in touch with nature and perhaps what nature does to them. They're able to express it, and they come here for that. Now, if they want to come for the noise of it or to party or whatever, I mean, there's a whole lot of options that are out there too.
For
But
them.
Marigs,
Yes.
what do you do when there's no trash? They're volunteering to pick up trash, but El Nido has no trash.
Oh, there is too.
Okay.
Remember? Yeah, I mean, we
The
are.
water brings it in.
Oo.
Yes, the water brings it in from as
Oo.
far as Malaysia,
Oh,
Korea,
yeah. Oo
and
nga.
everywhere else. Yep.
Oo.
And then you have ships out there, and they also bring with them
Trash.
Oo.
trash.
Akala ko nagpla-plant ka sa kwan, sa shores.
Ay, alam mo naman
Kidding,
tayo,
kidding.
authentic.
But I can understand that feeling when guests want to clean, because when you're in such a beautiful place, why you just really want to keep it that way, diba?
Yes, yes.
And El Nido is such a beautiful town, and the
Yeah.
islands are simply wow, breathtaking. So, what do you do for the community so that it will keep its natural assets
I think it's not just for the community, but with the
with the community,
Yeah.
for and with the
Oo.
community?
Yeah. Well, okay, that will require an entire episode,
Okay.
I think.
Just give us a sampling of.
Yeah, but it's really not, horn tooting when I say that there is a whole lot of things. Like I said, we are in a position to have done a lot of things. After all, we've been here for over 40 years as a company. And in my case, I've been living here now for 22 years, but joined the company in 1996, which places me at 26 years with the company. So, dapat lang meron kang ginawa. That would be such a horrid tragedy if you had done
Right.
nothing. No? So, it's a lot of things. We as a municipality have experienced a lot of growth, but we still remain to be challenged in a lot of our aspects here. Like for example, in health, so we've had to also contribute to various health projects, to the hospital, and so on, especially in these times. No? So we have those programs, but I think more importantly, like what George was saying, projects we do with the community. We have given opportunities for for women weavers, for example, in one of the barangays called Sibaltan. So our whole thing really, because obviously we're not an NGO, we're a for-profit company, is to what I was saying earlier, create shared value. So how do you make business partners of community groups and associations? So when they, uh, for example, create um, handicraft, you have to make sure that you don't just teach them how to create handicraft. We have to complete the loop and have opportunities where they can actually earn income. So we have to sell their handicraft. We have to feature them in our boutiques. I mean, we're very fortunate that it's a large portfolio that we're carrying here. So there are very many opportunities. We work with fishermen. We have 3 fishermen communities that we're working with, and what we want is for them to understand, um, the very basic tenets of marine protection, with the view of wanting them to have, you know, a long-term relationship with the ocean. Because if we buy everything all at once and we create this demand, then we'll run out of
Overfish.
fish, in
Yeah.
such a short time.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting relationship that a lot of people want to study, and we actually welcome it very much when people come and ask us about these things, because we'd like to share our experiences and a lot of the lessons that we've been learning, so that hopefully they can replicate it without our mistakes. You know, so yes, it's a if you've done community work, then you know that it's not an overnight thing. So you have to be very patient. Everyone, first of all, will have to come to an understanding that conservation of the sea, of the reefs and the pelagics and so on, the seagrasses, all the ecosystems there is very important. And that all these things are interconnected up to the point where they can actually catch fish and sell it to you. So that kind of understanding requires a lot of meetings, a lot of sharing of proof. It's been done in this place, it's been done in that place, and it actually really works.
Okay.
But if you don't have the kind of patience and, of course, track record,
Yeah.
the easiest thing to do is to just buy everything from them and not worry about where they're taking it or how
Yeah.
they're taking it, right? Because after all, you are helping them. But if they're blasting reefs, okay, so that they can sell something to you, you know that you're definitely part of the problem. So you're creating this demand, you're creating this need, for a product that will soon run out if you don't exercise restraint. So there's a lot of conversations that can happen from that one, like philosophy. Because if you're here today and you're listening and you're thinking of running a resort and you want to offer all sorts of fresh seafood, which is really great, but you don't care where the seafood is coming from,
Yeah.
Ang galing.
then for
Oo.
sure, yeah, you'll be part of the problem.
Yeah,
Maganda
that's
yan
right.
to remind people, no? Kasi it's not as simple as people may think. When you say sustainable, di ba? Parang it's not easy. It
Oo,
goes,
ha? Yeah,
ang daming proseso and everything. And that's something
I mean-
that Marigs has really studied and
Yeah.
experienced all these
When you talk
years.
about sustainability, a lot of that has to do with saying no,
Oo,
with
ha?
restraint, right? If you look at our resorts in the islands, we have maximum 50 rooms, nothing more. Pangulasyan is 42, Miniloc, Lagen, and Apulete all have 50 room keys. Now, if, and this is something that I always want to throw out there, if you had the opportunity to develop something with no cap, right? Would you do 50 as well? You'd probably do, I don't know, 100 or whatever, right? So these are the things that come into play when you think about sustainability. A lot of that has to do with with restraint.
Yeah, yeah.
Saying no.
And I learned a word there, a term. It's called carrying capacity. Am I right?
Yes.
Anyway, Marig has done a lot for all of this, no? And she has received awards also.
A lot of awards.
So we'd like to know which of these awards, not just for herself but for the company, she is proudest of.
But
But before we do that, before we listen to her about, let's pause again
for
a
another
break.
break. We'll be
Manong Joe po,
At Ate Maita,
ngayong Hunyo, bahagyang tumaas ng 8 centavos per kilowatt hour ang overall electricity rates. Ito'y dahil sa dagdag singil sa WESM.
alam nyo ba, pwede kayong i-update ng Meralco sa text or sa email gaya ni Sarah G. Sisendan kayo ng advanced updates tulad ng upcoming bill details. Di na kayo kakaba-kaba sa paghihintay ng bills. At anumang mangyari sa bill, masira, mabasa, o mawala, no problem. To get updates, i-update ang inyong contact information sa Facebook Messenger, meralco.com.ph, email, hotline 16211 o Meralco Business Centers.
Handa kami makipag-ugnayan sa inyo para makapaghatid ng mas mabuti, mabilis, at pagkinhawang serbisyo.
Hanggang sa susunod na
Meralco Advisory.
Iba ng panahon, dami ng bago ngayon. Pati ang mundo natin, well, nagbago na rin. Buti ano bayan, bigger, better na. You can buy it sa centers, pati sa mga parties, may online pa at app. You can buy it with your fingers, still don't remittance and more. Online shopping, you can buy it all. Di magpadala, you can buy it all. Anumang pera transaction, you can buy it all. Sabayan ang pagbabago ng mundo for all your pera transactions, all new Bayan.
So welcome back to Spotlight. We were asking Marigs which ones of her awards, and she has a
Many
long
awards.
list of awards, is she proudest of. So ano ba sa
And
mga
why,
natanggap
I guess.
mo? Oo, it's quite.
Okay. Well, last year I was awarded by WWF as one of its conservation heroes. That's
Oh.
I'm very proud of that, and I take that to heart because I think they recognize that when you think about conservation heroes, think about people who are laying their lives and so on. And I haven't really done that, fortunately, figuratively maybe, but fortunately not actually yet. But the business of conservation is not just about, although it is a big part, guarding and so on. What we've been trying to do was to do the best we can, given our context. And our context is that we are a tourism company.
Okay.
And when we talk about conservation, it's not just about El Nido. I've been asked to speak to several audiences, like I said, wherever, all over. And it is really my fervent hope that people who are listening, some of them perhaps decision makers, owners of resorts and hotels, that the responsibility of tourism operators is great, because tourism, especially in archipelagos like ours, so you have Indonesia in mind, or the Maldives, or other island countries and municipalities. These are very fragile ecosystems. These are very fragile places on the planet that are very distinct and are challenged as it is by changes in the climate. So, if you are thinking of doing something good, and you are thinking that if you do not operate there, someone else will come and inflict more harm and damage, then you as a business person, owner or whatnot, are in that very unique opportunity
Mhm.
to do good for the planet. So it's about pushing the conversation beyond the usual sphere of conservation. So when we think about conservation, we think about NGOs, we think about special types of people who do great things for the environment, and of course that's a big part of that. But there are also ordinary people, or people who don't necessarily have names out there connected to conservation, that are in a very good position to do something positive. And I think what I was able to do in my work for 10 Knots is that I've been able to harness the energy both of the shareholders who are so committed to conservation, as well as my colleagues and the local communities, to do what we have been doing. And the result is that people come to El Nido and they say that it remains to be very beautiful.
Yay.
The other award that I'm also very proud of is the Tourism for Tomorrow Award, which we received in 2013. It was under the community benefit category. In all these things, when you talk about 10 Knots, talk about El Nido Resorts, people think about expensive resorts, it's luxurious, etc. And it is, but the reality is that everyone behind it is cognizant of the fact that we can have a huge community footprint, and what that footprint would look like, whether it will empower or emancipate the community, benefit it, or endanger it, harm it, is something that a company like ours, a scale of operations like ours, would have the power to decide. And so being recognized by what I believe at that time was the Oscars of the tourism industry, which is the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, Tourism for Tomorrow Awards, was huge honor. And if I'm not mistaken, to this day we're the only Philippine property that has ever been recognized in that by that body.
Galing. Congratulations. So you've been doing this work for many years, since
95.
since you were born.
Parang ganun, Parang she's fated to do it.
Yes. So
Oo.
parang it's like in your blood now, by now, or
Yeah.
has always been, siguro.
Yeah.
But outside of your work and this sustainability and environment conservation passion, what else do you do? What are you passionate about outside of that?
She
Well, I'm
sings.
very what?
She sings.
Yes. I'm passionate about singing. I am passionate about learning new things, but I'm also very passionate about children's education.
Oo.
Jojo mentioned earlier
Yeah,
that
the school.
my husband and I founded a school in El Nido, and we'd like to, and we've been running it for 21 years now, Potter's Play School. It's,
I guess their children didn't have a good school to go to.
Also, they set it up.
I think so.
yes, that's
Okay.
true. Yes, it is. So now our children are adults, they're grown ups. And the school has continued on in its mission, and so we're also very happy about that. It's been very difficult over the past year, but we're also no stranger to difficulties and hardships. And really, you read about the World Bank report, which we are all, I guess, familiar with. 80% of
Yes.
Filipino children don't know what they need to know, and that's terrifying. It's like you just want to plead to God to give you more years, because you cannot die with that thought in mind.
Yeah.
No Filipino should be able to go to sleep well at night thinking that the next generation will not know their left from right. And you know, in some cases, that's really literal. I've
That's
been
so
to,
That's
horrible.
true.
Oh my God.
yes, I've been to recruitments where our engineers would ask people to raise their right hands and they'd raise their left. Buti naman hand
No.
mo.
East or
Yes,
west also. They don't
at
know
least hindi
which
naman
side is east.
paa. But
That's true.
yes, so
Horrible.
it's terrifying.
Yes.
So that's something that I'm very passionate about.
Mhm.
But at least they know their A.
They're
No?
A.
Their A's, their B's. But maybe not.
But maybe not. Maybe
Maybe
not.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting to this point in my life, I am surprised less and less.
Mhm.
And I'm also aware of what I cannot do.
Mhm.
But more importantly, I guess I'm more aware of, my superpowers. So I should be able to unlock
Yeah.
them
Yeah. Yeah.
and do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a name for you now. She's the super maestra, no?
Yes.
Wa muna. Sana ako na.
Super maestra. So, Jojo, do we go on to the game or you have one
No,
last question?
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So, in the context of the new normal, no? Paano ba ito? Do you see yourself having the same programs or are you adapting to the new normal? Ano ang kwan mo?
Yeah.
How do you look at
Yes.
it?
We launched before we were allowed by DOT to run our travel bubbles. We launched our Be Green, Be Clean campaign, which is our response to the needs of the moment of the day. And I know that not a lot of people are happy seeing people on vacation with masks and so on, and
Mm.
having to check their temperature every so often, and all these things. But I mean, really, if we were caught in a lockdown the way we were last year, and for a lot of us, even to this day, just the opportunity to be able to go out and experience the sun and the sea,
Fresh air.
what price wouldn't you want to pay to be able to do that if you are able to? And if you were asked to be inconvenienced by these things like masks and having to
O yung mic.
distance yourselves and so on, would that be too great an ask? Um, so the response of our guests is that it's not. They're very happy with the way we're conducting our business at the moment. But we're also very aware of how um, legitimate questions remain. Like even when we're vaccinated, for example, even if our entire workforce would have been vaccinated before the end of the year, will we still require masks and so on? And I guess the answer to that is yes. So this is
Yeah.
not going to go away very quickly. And this is a
Kinda
model
low.
that we will have to look at until perhaps 2023. So, and just the thought of traveling, there's a lot of hesitancy there. And so for us, it's really about, belt tightening some more. And I've been very fortunate that I work with a team that recognizes that saving the environment or preserving the environment is no respecter of, whatever pandemics there are or there aren't. So we continue with our programs as best as we can, but we just have to make sure that we perform within the bounds of budget and things like that.
Right. You have to survive as a business, di ba?
Okay.
Pero wait lang, speaking of yung masks, di ba? There's been a lot of concern about its disposal.
Yeah.
Yes,
Paano yun?
Yes.
What is the best way to dispose
Absolutely.
of masks?
yes. So I was mentioning earlier that we as a company are very equipped in dealing with what we have to deal with today, because in terms of managing our waste, it's always been there. No? So the discipline is there, the system is there. So the mask is yet another addition to the list of things that are problematic. I mean, no one wants to buy a used mask, for example. You know,
Ay.
unlike I don't know, some parts of a broken air conditioning unit. You know, you can still have you can retrieve some valuable items from that. No, the mask obviously not. So we have our materials recovery facility,
Okay.
and we're really in the process of sequestering because it's a medical waste. No, the mask is a
It
medical
is.
waste. So we sequester our medical waste, and we're still in the process of really finding reputable partners to
Okay.
be able to help us manage that. In the meantime, they are in a safe place.
Okay. Good to know.
Hazardous waste all over the country. There are very, very few entities, reputable entities, reliable entities that handle them. So we're hoping that this demand would also create, would stimulate, some sectors to provide, because there is a need and people are willing to pay for this to be able to address this problem. And so we're on the lookout for that.
Okay.
Marigs, I have a question.
Yes.
Kailan ang birthday mo?
Kamakailan lang.
Anong araw? Parang I forgot to greet you.
2 araw ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Just to show how close Jojo and I are, and been the number of years that we've been friends, we can actually afford to forget each other's birthdays and not
Mind.
risk losing the friendship. Friendship over. Ganyan.
Okay lang. Parang there comes a point in your life naman na you don't want to remember birthdays anymore.
That's true too.
No, not Marigs. Ako lang yun.
Okay. Okay, so let's get to know Marigs some more by
Yeah.
playing this game with you.
We have a game.
Ayan.
It's
Would you rather?
would you rather?
Okay, so answer. Would you rather plan your own trip or let the locals tell you the best places or things to do?
Always let the locals
Oh,
give me advice. Yeah.
oo nga. Oo nga naman. They know better.
Of
Best.
course, of course.
I'm always game for anything. So if someone tells me, okay, eat this, doon mo lang makikita, go. Ganyan.
Try agad.
I know something that you haven't done all your life. Yung mag-gather ng yung nest, yung bird's nest.
Oh, bird's nest. Di ba bawal?
Mag-gather naman. So talagang buhay, mapatayin mo na yata ako.
Akit ka doon, no?
Nanonood, pwede. Sure, yeah, pwede.
Okay,
Yeah.
so next. Ayan, Jo. Would you rather
Spend 24 hours in a resort or a mansion.
Resort, of
Siyempre
course.
naman.
Regardless.
Oo.
No question.
Regardless.
Oo. Kasi her home is her mansion. So if she wants variety, di ba?
Of course not. No, I'm really a people person. So for me, when you say
Oo.
resort, no, I don't imagine something that's. Although I know that nowadays there are a lot of deserted resorts,
Yeah.
but I imagine a resort, a typical resort, to be teeming with people, or at
Yeah.
least have someone that you can talk to. Yeah. So a resort.
All right.
Okay, next.
Would you rather have unlimited international first class ticket or never have to pay for food at restaurants?
The latter. You know why? Because I of course I love food, but I also want to feed people. I love feeding people.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So
Feed us!
Oo.
yes, sure. That ticket, I hope hindi lang para sa akin yung pwede akong kumain.
Oo.
Because I love
Food.
I love throwing parties where I get to cook, or at least get to say what feed people.
Nice.
Yeah.
O, di ibigay mo na lang sa amin yung ticket.
Ayun na. Sa'yo na ang ticket.
Sa'yo na, Jojo. Happy birthday, Jojo. Okay, next. Would you rather
Live underground, underwater, or in deep space.
Uy.
Deep
Underwater, of course.
Oh, I don't know.
May view.
At saka, how can you live underground? Ano ba naman yun?
Oo, talagang
Parang
hindi
hindi.
mo maalam, babo, ganun.
Pag underground ka na, wala na yun.
Nilibing nyo na ako kagad.
Underwater, di ba? Yun, may bubble yun, ha? Maganda.
Water, yes,
Bubble.
And lots of
colorful.
bubbles.
And you know what's different underwater? You cannot speak. Oh, you can, theoretically. Pa, ganyan.
Oo.
Matatahimik ka.
At saka yung nakikita mong umiikot na isda.
Oo, ang ganda.
Wow! And, oo, tama nga.
Underwater.
Okay.
Would you rather have 200 beautiful trees or have a clean ocean in El Nido?
You know, where I live, I have 2,500 beautiful trees.
Wow.
Wow.
I would rather have a clean ocean in El Nido.
Oo. Meron na kasi siya nung trees. Oo.
Trees.
Oo.
So when you first moved to El Nido, what was it like? Has it changed radically or improved or
I'm sure mas
I don't
maganda.
know what happened? Sa tingin mo
Oh,
from the first time you were there?
sabi ko nga, I'm a biologist, di ba? So I'm looking at the course of time with the lens of someone who would always be drawn to how nature is. So having said that, I obviously have misgivings about what's happening now and what the direction is that the town is taking, or the municipality is taking. However, I also am very aware that more people are now able to bring their relatives to the hospital for emergency care or whatever care. And I also am aware that many people are able to travel, many people are able to send their kids to schools wherever they want to, whether in the city or even abroad. So I cannot close my eyes to those opportunities. And those opportunities were sadly brought about at the expense of what is an ideal natural environment for me. So it's always a struggle, you know. And so, of course, we're then driven to think about how do we get the best of both worlds, because that's what humans want.
Yeah.
And then you try to compromise, you try to bargain. Okay, siguro hanggang dito we can allow this, or maybe we can accept this. But then there are certain lines that have to be drawn. So hopefully there's going to be more of us who are interested in drawing those lines, and that we can agree where those lines are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marigs, let's say hello
Yes.
let's say hello to Charlie Yu.
Where is Charlie Yu?
Di ba, his wife
Yes,
passed
yes.
on.
Yes. I'll say hello to him for you.
And Charlie, if
If you're listening.
yeah, I hope all's well with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Charlie's a dear friend.
Yeah, he does conservation work there, no? I mean, before he did a lot of. He's still chair, no, of their
Yes.
foundation. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, so I was thinking, because Marigs was saying that, you have to achieve a balance somehow because you can't keep it 100%, pure. You have to give way to some kind of development or modernization. So I'm sure that a lot of people are thinking the same thing. With the world as it is now, it's very different, and more people are getting into sustainability and environment protection. What would you like to say to the youth who would like to get into the same kind of work that you're doing now? What would be your message to them?
yeah.
Educate yourself beyond the classroom as much as you can. Talk to as many people as possible, because only in doing that will you be able to see different perspectives. There will be so many prescriptions that you will come across with, and all of them will have value. Whether you believe in them or agree with them is not necessarily the important point. But there will be prescriptions, and these are prescriptions precisely because they are there. They're recommendations, and how you can put them in place wherever life takes you will certainly depend on a context, and you will not understand context if you keep to yourself and your ideal world scenario. So my advice would be to make room for as many voices, as many people as possible, and then constantly don't be afraid to rework your the way you work, or the way your ethic, in accordance with what you want to pursue or how you want things done, um, with your vision in mind. No? So in other words, rework so that you can see, your vision, you can focus more clearly, and then you will understand, okay, so itong lugar pala na to, this is how sustainability, or the principles of sustainability, can serve it best. No? And there's just no one silver bullet for different
Oh,
locations.
that's right.
Yeah, thanks, Marigs. No. So, finally, for our final words, no, we'd like to ask you to say something naman to our audience. Any message for them? And would you like to invite them to go to El Nido and all that?
Of course.
Wag na kami, nakakaya naman. Sila na lang.
Whenever I'm asked to present, I always make that invitation, because I think
Okay.
that, of course, El Nido is beautiful, beautiful, right?
Yes.
But I think it was Rachel Carson who said that, nature, I don't know in what exact words, no, basta the best way to appreciate nature is for you to have someone to, um, kind of explain it to you. Okay, maybe explain is such a heavy word, but like a guide, a tour guide. And I would be very, very happy to do that. And fortunately, I'm not the only one who is able to do that, no. Because like if you, for example, go into the big lagoon, other than the customary selfie that you would like to upload right away, but there's no signal inside the big lagoon, so you'll have to wait until you're back in your main boat outside of the lagoon, right? And I cannot imagine how many people there are who are impatient. They want to upload it right away, right smack in the middle of the lagoon. But other than that, I would say that the best way really to enjoy El Nido and any other similar place is to be quiet, put down your phone, and even to someone like me, it's a challenge. Put down your phone and really soak in on what nature is telling you.
Ang ganda.
And it is also my fervent hope that the pandemic would have stirred something in us.
Yes.
Because it would be such a shame to have gone through something so tragic, so cruel, as what we've all been through this past year, and just emerge the exact same person that you were.
Ah,
Right?
Oo nga naman.
Tama yun.
Oo nga eh.
I agree. Well said.
Oo, that's true.
So there has to be something. There has to be something.
Transformative.
Companies like ours, we can impose new normal things. But if you're the same person that you were, you will not appreciate it. You will resist it. You will not like it because you're not used to it. But if you understand that in the context of it's a different world, and something has happened, something has changed. So this inconvenience is a requirement, and this inconvenience is a reminder to us, so that we take on a different perspective. We take on an attitude of gratitude that you can actually be there, and you're actually there. You're alive, and you have to wear a mask, but you're alive.
Alam mo, I myself am grateful, no? Unang-una, nagka-COVID ako and all that.
Yeah.
But you know what my boyfriend was telling me? Nagka-COVID ka na, nag-pandemic at lahat, mayabang ka pa rin. That's what he
In
said.
other words, he still has to change.
Oo, parang kailangan ko pang... Pero salamat na po sa COVID tapos na, no? And then, nagpa-vax na rin ako. Pero, parang I still need to,
Yes, we have to learn.
transform.
Oh, parang all of us.
Parang we
Each
need to
of
go
us.
to El Nido, no? Para maging
mag-meditate,
full
mag-meditate
ang
tayo doon, Jojo.
Oo.
I really think, it will do you a lot of good.
Yeah. Gaganda ba ang skin?
Pwede.
Well,
Okay.
so let's make plans, Jojo.
Okay.
Meantime, we'd like to say thank you, Marigs Laririt, for joining us this
Yeah.
afternoon. And we wish you good luck with your work.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, everyone, for watching Spotlight. This is Dina Ventura.
This is Jojo Silvestre.
See you all next week.
Bye.